New information on a potentially growing scandal at the General Services Administration. Thanks to a Fox First from our Capitol Hill senior producer, Chad Pergram, we're learning congressional investigators are taking another look at the GSA for apparently organizing at least 77 other questionable events. This, of course, in the wake of an incident involving this high-level GSA official, Jeff Neely, who resigned recently after organizing that lavish Las Vegas conference back in 2010. All on the taxpayer dime. Joining us now, the man at the center of the new investigation, Florida Congressman John Mica, who is chairman of the House Transportation Committee. Congressman, always good to see you. So does this get worse than that hot tub picture that we just took a look at?
Well, we're going to find out more tomorrow. We have a full hearing. We now have the Virginia one-day conference where they also had outrageous taxpayer wasteful spending. One-day conference, $250,000, $104,000 to a consultant for one day, $20,000 spent on drumsticks, another $35,000 on picture frames. And we think, unfortunately, they're dribbling this information out. First we saw Las Vegas, then we saw Virginia, and now we're told there may be as many as more than 70 conferences we're going to have to look at.
Talk to us about your investigators and the kind of cooperation they're getting from folks at the GSA. Of course, we've been talking about the investigation into the Fast and Furious program. We know that the cooperation there, the back and forth, has not been great between the Justice Department and congressional investigators. Have your investigators been able to get access to the information that they want to see in order to find out exactly what was going on?
Well, the cooperation, now, you remember we got rid of some of the people that were involved, like Neely and the building commissioner and others. So we're on our second level of GSA officials. I have to say the cooperation has not been good. We're finding out now, even some of the media ask questions through FOIA information requests that are somewhat dated, that they gave them different information. For example, on bonuses, they gave us $10 million in bonuses. Now we find another $30 million from that quarter, subverting even what the president requested. We've been trying to get these empty federal buildings, 14,000 of them vacant around the country or underutilized on the taxpayer plus role instead of costing taxpayers money. And the cooperation has not been good there. So whether it's these conferences that are multi-million-dollar wasteful spending or multi-billion-dollar projects that are sitting idle, buildings and property sitting idle, they're not cooperating or acting in the interest of the public.
We should mention that since the initial outrage over the conference in Las Vegas, the GSA has announced a hiring freeze. They're cutting performance bonuses for some of their top-level officials. I read a piece in the Washington Post, Congressman, from a couple of months ago that talked about the various hearings that have taken place on the Hill, a couple of which your committee headed up, saying that these sessions demonstrated that Congress is better at outrage and hindsight than oversight. What kind of assurances can you give to the American people that lawmakers in Washington are doing their jobs when it comes to oversight to prevent this kind of thing from happening in the future?
Well, even back when we were in the minority somewhat 18 months ago, I produced a report entitled "The Federal Government Must Stop Sitting on Its Asset." The very first hearing we held within like 2 weeks was in a building that had been vacant for more than a decade, 2 blocks from the White House. So we have a record of actually going after this waste. That project, incidentally, within a year, we're turning that around to where 1,000 people will work there. Instead of an $8 million loss a year for the taxpayers, we'll have revenue, maybe as much as $10 million coming into the Treasury. So there's rhetoric and then there's action, and I think we're taking action and holding people accountable.
Congressman John Mica's Transportation Committee holds its hearing on this tomorrow up on the Hill. We'll be watching with great interest, Congressman. Thanks so much for giving us a preview.
Thank you. Good to be with you.